Shane, another barn burner here in the Southeastern Conference. We've got South Carolina on the road, Shane, at Ole Miss. Ole Miss Rebels favored by 12.5 points. The over-under's 55.5 total points. 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 Central on ESPN. Before you make your pick, Shane.
Yes.
Beamer, I don't know if you know this. He's 13-4 in November as Carolina's coach. Who you got in the ball game?
Man, this is, you want to talk about classic trap game right here, right? Yeah. Just Ole Miss overlooking. I mean, they just come off that big win on the road. They're already eyeing the SEC championship, maybe at college football playoffs. This is their time. But South Carolina can ruin it. South Carolina can absolutely ruin it because they still, I think, have one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And yes, I know Lenorse has not impressed you as much as he should. But the fact that it's all on his shoulders says more about the football team than he needs some help. And if they can get the running game going, which is very possible against this Ole Miss football team, I feel like South Carolina, with that balance, could be absolutely dangerous. We saw a little bit of a fiery defense come awake here the last couple of weeks. And, man, they need it. Golly, Shane Beamer and company need this one. But Ole Miss is probably one of, if not the best team in the country, right below Oklahoma. And I would say, they ain't stopping anytime soon. We talked about them potentially skipping the SEC championship last year. By God, this team is not going to take their foot off the gas this time. They could just turn on the Washington State game. Just watch that one again, So they've been scared. They know exactly what happens if you take a week off, and that's something they're not going to do this week. So give me Ole Miss big, 38, South Carolina 24.
Oh, 2 touchdowns, huh?
Yeah.
And Rebs is covering.
Yeah, I like him. I almost locked it, but it seems like I'm always locking Ole Miss or Vanderbilt or somebody, I thought I'd pick on Mississippi State, the other team.
What if last week, though, Shane, where them Gamecocks really pushed Bama to the limit?
Yeah.
What if that's more of what we're getting from the Gamecocks? I mean, there are reports that they've kind of tinkered with the play calling.
Yes.
And I think that certainly paid off. And, minus a couple questionable calls, maybe Carolina would have won against maybe the best team in the country, Alabama. If that Carolina shows up, maybe we got us a ball game. And you're right. I mean, Ole Miss, come on, Atlanta, college football playoff. We're already eyeing all that. And, oh, by the way, Kiffin's leaving. Oh, I mean, I don't think he is, but that's all the talk. So they're hearing that. There's a lot going on in Oxford right now. How locked in, how focused is his football team? This might be, could you imagine, Shane, if I told you that in the preseason, because we were pretty hyped after we saw Austin Simmons. We were like, oh, my God, this is the guy right here, right? But what if I told you, well, they're going to be down to Trinidad Chambliss, whoever the hell that is, in the preseason, and Carolina's got Lenore Sellers? We would have said, massive advantage at the quarterback spot in this football game. And you know what? We'd be absolutely right. We just have the wrong team. Chambliss is the real deal, Shane. He might be the damn Heisman winner, believe it or not. So I like everything you said, Shane. I think I was just kind of pumping up them cocks here. I got to pump up them cocks for a second, Shane, to tell you that Ole Miss is the lock of the week. They're going to whip the shit out of Carolina. Give me Ole Miss. Can't see my keyboard here. Ole Miss 30, South Carolina 13. Lock of the week.
I like the nickname Winadad, so that's a pretty cool name, And the way Trinidad's playing right now, Mike, I mean, if we could go back day one and you did your quarterback rankings, I mean, would you have him over Lenore Sellers as
in the preseason?
Yeah, just
no, he'd be 16.
No. I'm saying, like, knowing what you know now, You know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, you can't, it's not even question.
Okay.
I think Chandler's probably top 3.
Phew, buddy.
You
And he
know?
wasn't even starting. Wasn't even starting.
And
The
what's crazy is the top 3 is probably Ty Simpson, Marcel Reed, and Chambliss.
Yeah.
I don't think any of those guys, even for those fan bases, was top 3. And if A&M will tell you they had him there, they're lying to you. You know? Now he's been amazing, right? But
yes.
even I'm sure they believed in him, but top 3, no, they're lying if they told you that. How about this matchup here in the Southeastern Conference? We got South Carolina at Ole Miss. The Rebels at home, favored by 12.5 points. The over-under's 54.5 total points. 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 Central on the SEC Network. Steven, this game was not very competitive, if I recall, from last season. Could this one be a little bit more competitive if South Carolina shows up like it did last week?
That's the big question, I think, is how much does South Carolina have left in the tank? Because they have been a better team in November under Shane Beamer. Mike, you and I have talked about in-season growth. They find a way to pull off an upset. That close call last week, did they empty the tank? And it's going to be hard for them to get up for this game on Saturday in Oxford. And the stakes for Ole Miss are incredibly high here because we saw it last year when they got to November. They kind of fell apart with those losses to Florida and LSU and ended that chance to go to the college football playoff. So the stakes here for Ole Miss, when you look at the schedule, if they're 7-1, the next 3 games are at home. You win those 3 games, you're going to the college football playoff. It's that simple. It's all there for Ole Miss. So I think there's got to be hey, we've got to take care of business mentality on Saturday for Ole Miss. And I think anytime when I've started to break this game down, I came back to if South Carolina wins, and I know this is pretty simple, it's got to be a Lenora Sellers kind of game. We saw last week what he was able to do and kind of carrying South Carolina almost to the upset. But Mike, South Carolina has scored over 20 points just 2 times in SEC play this season. One of those was against Kentucky. I know Ole Miss isn't a shutdown defense, but man, they made the stops last week when it mattered. South Carolina hasn't reached 350 yards in a game this season. You see what I'm getting at here is like, it's going to take a significant effort on South Carolina's part to keep pace with the Ole Miss offense. Now, Ole Miss defense has had some issues against the run. Oklahoma hit some plays last week in the big play through the air. I think you can move the ball in this defense. But I think if I'm Ole Miss, I look at this and say, if we can play our style, if we can get ahead, if Chambliss and Lacey are up 14-0, it's going to be really hard for South Carolina to come back. I think the best chance for South Carolina is to turn it into a game like we saw last week, where it was ugly, it was lower scoring. I wonder if the tank is a little bit empty. South Carolina's lost 4 of their 5 SEC games by 9 points or more. Ole Miss has 4 SEC wins by 1 score. So the spread is 12.5, maybe a little bit wacky. But I'm going to take Ole Miss 34, South Carolina 17, Mike. I think it's going to be tough for the South Carolina offense to keep pace here. And I think given what's at stake, I think we see a very motivated Ole Miss team to take care of business on Saturday.
Well, I don't know if you've heard any of these reports, and who Beamer downplayed it yesterday during his press conference, but there has been a report out of Carolina that they've kind of tweaked how they're doing the play calling. Of course, it's funny how that happens, right? Where they don't want to fire Shula in the middle of the year, I guess. But hey, maybe it did work a little bit against Bama because they certainly looked better. Still couldn't finish in the red zone. But, does that give you any hesitation that maybe they figured something out on that offensive side of the football in Columbia?
Potentially. I'd like to see it again this week. One thing too, and I guess the question is it more schematic or is it just a play caller tweak? Because if it's schematic, Ole Miss now has a week to adjust, where maybe Alabama is kind of caught off guard, perhaps. I think it's fair to say Alabama's probably better than Ole Miss on defense, right? So I think there will be opportunities here for Sellers and this offense to move the ball. I think just the track record this season, even if this Ole Miss defense has questions, and they've had some issues against mobile quarterbacks with Stockton and Taylor Green, I think there will be a couple plays where Sellers pops. I just wonder over the course of the game whether they have a hard time getting to that 24 or so points they probably need to try to make this a closer game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How about this, Steven? Because this is about one of the only things that can hold Ole Miss back potentially, is if this noise, and I think this is less than ever in this modern era, in this essentially every roster, whether you want to admit it. I think most people are willing to admit this now, but most of these rosters are like, everybody's on a 1-year contract. I mean, literally everybody can. So is there anything to the fact that Ole Miss could be distracted given this Lane Kiffin speculation, or do you not really think that's much of a factor?
Two thoughts on this. First of all, Lane Kiffin could actually end this any day he wants to. He could say, I'm going to be here in 2026, but it's to his advantage to not say that. I wondered if it would be a distraction last week, but they look pretty good against Oklahoma. What I think in this era, we might worry more about losses, actually, because if Ole Miss had 2 or 3 losses and then you pile coaching rumors on top of that, I would worry more about kind of falling apart. But I think this team, given their 7-1 and a very favorable stretch here, I'm not as worried as I would be if we were sitting here saying they're 5-3, I think.
Right. And heck, to what I was kind of getting at is any of the players that have eligibility remaining in Oxford, if they really like Kiffin, they can just follow him to wherever he goes next. Yeah. You know what I mean? So this is just a unique time. So I truly don't think that has a huge factor, but I think it did a couple years ago when he nearly went to Auburn. If you recall, they really, that was the season they fell apart at the stretch. And there was all those rumors with Kiffin going to Auburn.
I wonder if later in the season, maybe playing Florida could be a little awkward. I also think the Egg Bowl, being on the road and being at the last week of the season where coaching stuff really gets hot, maybe one of those 2 games could be pretty interesting. I think we're not quite at that point yet where I'm worried about it, especially since how they played on Saturday. I think that should give Ole Miss fans some confidence here.